My first job was when I was 11. I was sweeping floors at, I think that's also illegal and might have been at the time too. But anyway, I was sweeping floors at the local cabinet factory in town, and I'd always worked, and I think...
The catnip factory.
Oh, no, sorry, cabinet, not catnip. Oh. Did I say catnip? The catnip factory? No.
I fully heard cabinet, not catnip.
I heard catnip. Like, that's a thing? Okay, sorry.
On the front porch.
We're back with another episode of On the Porch with Front Porch Music, and this week we had a chat with Alberta artist Mariya Stokes. That's your turn, Jenna.
We had so much fun. Time went by so fast.
It did.
This keeps happening.
It does. I'm like, oh, we have so much time left. Nope, we had about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, we're like, what should we talk? Oh, we gotta.
We haven't talked about music yet.
No, we had to get through it. So, Mariya took a break for a little bit from releasing music, but she recorded quite a bit. We're so excited. Her latest single, You Want Me, is available everywhere now. She has lots more music coming out this year. Mariya is a top of the country semi-finalist this year, which is pretty huge. Only 8 people get selected every year for that. She talked about that experience recording at the Warehouse Studio in Vancouver.
And she also talked about hitting the road and playing June Carter Cash. So here's our chat with Mariya Stokes.
Do 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 do.
We were stoked to talk to her. Boo.
We are hanging out on the porch today with Mariya Stokes, all the way from Calgary, Alberta?
Calgary, yeah, originally from Stavely, Alberta, like an hour south, but yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, Mariya.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to see you both, and to actually, I know we've met in person once or twice, but it's nice to...
it's always in passing.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to, actually sit down and be able to have a chat.
Yeah, it's too bad this isn't a video podcast because your background is dope, but everybody can just leave that up to their imagination.
Perfect. Yeah, there's
a
bunch
I was going to say, it's too bad you can't see this because, there's a billion guitars.
There's a vibe.
There's like a comfy couch, a humidifier, some old radios.
I'm very glad.
It looks great.
I'm glad you noticed the humidifier because I totally thought that I'd moved that out of the shot. But you can't have a bunch of old guitars unless they're moist. So
well, it can't be dry in there.
No, definitely not. Not for the guitars or for a singer.
Exactly.
No. Is it cold in Alberta today, in Calgary today?
It was really cold a couple days ago, but the thing about the weather in Calgary is if you don't like it, just wait 5 minutes and it'll change. And so it's somewhere around 0 right now. It's not bad at all.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
It's not bad at all. We're exciting.
We're basically having summer today.
Yeah, it's like 13 degrees out.
I am so jealous. I think we're supposed to get a little bit of that later this week.
Oh
nice.
My gosh. Isn't that wild? No matter where... We're in 2 very different climates of Canada, and we get the similar, weird weather where it's freezing rain, and then all of a sudden it's snowing, and then it's 15. You're like, okay, I'll dress for everything.
It's funny. I was on a co-write with a buddy of mine. Her name is Vicky Brittle, and she's from Ontario. And throughout the course of writing a song, I think we were on the phone for 3 hours. We had snow, and then it turned to sleet, and then it turned to hail, and then by the time we were off the call, it was just sunshine. So that's how it goes. We're pretty used to it. Yeah.
It's true.
Pretty much. Anyways, we're not here to come talk about the weather.
Wait, nope. This is not the weather report. This is about the music. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and tell us where you're from, who you are, how you got to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Mariya Stokes. I'm a country artist and songwriter based in Calgary, Alberta, but originally from Stavely, Alberta, an hour south of Calgary. And I grew up playing music down there. I used to sit on the steps of the local bar and watch all the bands come through town. And my dad was actually in a jam band, and so on Friday afternoons I would go and sneak in when I was 8 years old and jam with the local band, which was with my dad, which was pretty cool. And I
that's a great memory.
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, and Tim Huss too actually was one of the bands who came through town, and he came over and had breakfast with my family the next morning after the show, and just gave me some advice, and I got to have some really interesting experiences with some very generous musicians at a young age. And then I moved to the city when I was 18 and decided that I wanted to try to give this music thing a shot, and I've been doing it ever since.
It's wild you literally grew up with a music education, on the go. That's kind of unique.
You think so? That is interesting. I think just hanging out around like, I guess it's a street trained almost musician mindset. I didn't actually
Yeah.
go to school for it necessarily.
Yeah.
I've done workshops and master classes, but most of my learning has just been on the ground with other artists and musicians who, frankly, scare the crap out of me because
That's how you learn best.
You learned it
Yeah,
in the streets.
totally. The streets of Stavely, the mean streets of Stavely. Yeah.
Can you like set the scene for Stavely, Alberta? Is it tiny? Is it a tiny little place? Is it?
Yeah, it's like 500 people in the town. I grew up a little bit in town and then outside of town as well. But I don't know if this is a thing in Ontario. But every small town in Alberta has a main street that's like 5 times wider than it needs to be. And I don't know why that is. But anyway, so it's basically a big grain elevator and then an old brick hotel. And just really, really warm and kind people in town and around town as well. There's a lot of agriculture down there. So that kind of explains the country music thing, I think.
Yep.
Absolutely, it does. That's just really cool. Like, you grew up like a core Canadian like experience, I think, which is really cute.
Yeah, totally. Well, and there's farming and ranching
Yeah.
and all different kinds of industry down there. And actually a lot of musicians too, which is pretty awesome because we used to like go to the neighbor's house and just jam all the time. And
There you go.
we had this,
Right.
we had happy hours is what we called them on the weekends sometimes, where all the neighbors would come over and we'd just like whip out guitars and Mom would make margaritas. I wouldn't have any margaritas, but we'd play music and hang out and just connect.
That's so
I love that.
nice.
Like, I grew up in the city. I mean, in the outskirts of Ottawa. Like, so, like, not huge city, but still city. And, like, you don't get that kind of typical, the whole community got together and just had fun. It was, like, very much you stick to your own, and you do your own thing, and you kind of ignore your neighbors. So I kind of, like, am always jealous when I hear of, like, or, like, not jealous, just, like, do people actually do those things of just hang out? Like, I don't know.
They do.
yeah.
Well, and even like there were a couple families going through hard times when I was growing up. That happened once in a while, and the whole community would get together and throw a fundraiser at like a restaurant or a community center, and sometimes there'd be hundreds of people there just to show up and support a family in need, and that happened quite often actually. And it's interesting looking at it now because I didn't realize how special it was when I was growing up, and that a lot of people don't have that kind of community support. And I think that's kind of the beauty of small towns is people do want to help their neighbors.
I completely agree. You grew up in a smaller town than me. I grew up in a town of 1,000.
I win the
And
battle of whose town is the smallest is what you're
You
saying.
just
Jenna.
did. I always win, and now you won.
No, Jason Benoit won that one, remember?
Oh yeah, Jason Benoit.
We talked to him, and what was his town like?
Like 200 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
it's quite
gosh,
small.
that's not even. That's technically like a what is
A
it?
village.
A village. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
a village, a hamlet. But you just know, I moved to the city when I was quite young, like 12, 13 years old. But just going back home and even now going back home, and everybody just cares about you. It's not
Yeah.
like you have the like, everybody's so nosy. And I'm like, are they all always nosy, or do they just care about you and like want to know you're doing well? Because that's part of it too, you know?
Big
It's
time.
interesting.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
interesting.
For sure. Yeah,
Especially when you move to a bigger city and you're like, I'm an anonymous person walking these streets now. It's so different, right?
That's fair. I did join my community Facebook group in the area of Calgary that I live in, and it is actually quite wholesome and also pure entertainment some days. There's this bobcat that's been running around my neighborhood, and everybody posts about this bobcat. Anyway, and then if, there's like cabarets and stuff that happen for families here, and I'm like, I feel like I should engage and maybe show up to that a little more, because I think it can be less community focused in the city, but I feel like you have to
You should just find the pocket.
yeah,
Yep.
Make an effort.
a community will give you back what you put into it. So if I want to be involved up here, I gotta get involved.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I just thought of this. Like, I live in a building that holds the same amount of people as my like hometown does.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Toronto, just
Just Toronto things.
2 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
So you grew up in this town, and that ended up being pretty musical. So, but when did you decide or know that music was kind of your path?
I don't know if I ever really decided. It sounds sort of cliche, but it kind of picked me. I started taking singing lessons when I was like 8 years old, and just always really had a passion for music and also for writing. I was always like a journaler, and I like to write little poems. And when I was 14, I went and my dad actually was like, you can sing and that's great, but we want you to be able to play an instrument too. So that if we're doing campfire stuff, you can pick up a guitar and you can jam along. And so I went and bought my first guitar when I was 14 and started taking lessons. And then the second I learned my first 3 chords, I tried to write a song. It was right around the time that Taylor Swift was coming out with Our Song. And I was like, this is the first kind of music that I think that I've ever heard that feels like it was written for me. And I feel like I could maybe write something like that. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, at that point I was learning how to play guitar, learning how to write songs, and then also singing just like the anthem at local rodeos and bull ridings and going to baby showers and singing for folks who are, having kids or getting married. And eventually started, by the time I was 16, I was driving to Calgary or Lethbridge once a week for either performance coaching or voice coaching or guitar lessons. And it just, honestly, I think it kept me out of trouble is what happened. It was the thing that I was kind of focusing on the weekends. And when I turned 18, I had a very clear choice where I could go to school or try to give this thing a shot. And my parents actually encouraged me and were like, you can go to school, you can always go back to school, but just move there and just see if you can make it happen. And that gave me the courage to try to chase it. And so then I moved to the city and got a serving job. And my only goal at that point was just to be able to do this full time. And I was lucky that the fella, Brian Farrell, that I was taking voice lessons from actually hired me as an associate vocal coach. And I started once again just playing wherever anybody would let me. And eventually I think I had quit my job a year after moving to the city, and I've been full time since.
That's pretty record time, it sounds like to me.
Thanks. I was so broke, Jenna. It's actually wild how broke I was. But we made it happen, so.
Yeah.
We always do.
If you want something bad enough, you will,
Yeah. Well, and I didn't know that it was supposed to be super hard. You know what I mean? It was I got to do what I loved, and I was focusing on the thing that kind of set my soul on fire. So everything's hard, but that's the heart I chose, and I still love it.
Absolutely. We need to go back to the parents encouraging you to do this. Yeah. And a lot of people are highly encouraged by their parents to take the sure route. Go to school or go to that job. And a job in the music business is not a sure thing. No. And it's huge for your parents to be like, you should try it out. We think you should try.
Yeah, I've been working since I was a really little kid, and they knew that I think they trusted that if I set my mind to it, that I could figure it out. So that was pretty cool. They didn't financially support me at all, which also is kind of wild that they still encouraged me to do the thing and were like, no, you gotta figure it out. But did they answer a lot of phone calls when I was stressed out or going through stuff or, had some negative feedback or constructive criticism about what I was doing. And I wouldn't be doing this without their support.
That's special.
We had you as one of our female spotlights.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, and in that conversation, I've read it again this morning, in preparation, and you had said that family really grounds you. What does family mean to you in all of this?
Family is the why, and they remind me of, I guess, the humanity of it all. The reason that I do music is to connect with people, because it fills up my soul, and because I've got a lot of things that I want to say that I think a lot of people are probably feeling, and I have the tools to express that, and I'm really grateful for that. And also, sometimes being in music, it's easy to let my entire identity be wrapped up in that. But when I go home, I'm reminded that there's so much more to me and so much more to life than music, and being really hyper-focused on it is cool, and it's such a gift that I get to do that. But it reminds me that even if that wasn't there, I'd still have a strong support system and a really good group of people that love me just for me, music or not.
You have siblings, right? I think.
Yeah, I have a little brother and a little sister, and also my little sister, she's 10 years younger than me. She just moved in with me as well, which is so fun.
That is fun.
Yeah.
That is so. Okay, I have brothers and they're younger, and if they asked to move in, would hard no. So good for you.
She's quite mature. She's going to hair school right now to be a hairstylist.
way.
Yeah, which is also handy
Watch
for
your
me.
hair. She's going to come test it on you.
Oh, she has. And you know what? I was a little nervous about it, but she
Did you do a good job?
like a way better job than me. Even before she was in hair school, she did my hair one day and it lasted for like 3 days. And mine does not. It lasts like a day like this, and then I'm done. So, yeah. But she's here
So
and
now
living
she's
with us.
moved in.
Yeah,
She's
and
going to do your hair every day you have a show.
yep.
Part of the trade-off,
Cuts
right?
it too, which is really nice. Yeah.
Convenient.
And it's fun
Wow.
being like around her because I keep thinking that I'm like 18. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I can hang out with 18-year-olds, and then you actually hang out with 18-year-olds.
And you're like, wait, it's 11 o'clock at night?
Yeah, right? Or like, you need me to pick you up from Cowboys? This used to be so fun, this giant casino club, and now it just feels so strange being in here. I want to sit somewhere quiet and talk to my friends.
If I can't hear over the music, this is not a place to hang out anymore.
Totally.
That's
Jen
so
and I
funny.
went to a place last night. We walked in and it was so loud. And we were like,
Make this
let's
one
go.
fast.
Yeah,
Not
once
it.
in a while it's the vibe, but not usually anymore.
Yeah.
No, it takes a lot out of you now.
Yeah, and it's fun to in that club that I was just talking about. I went and picked her up one night and was like, "Oh, I'll go in a little early and just stand." There's a giant mezzanine over top of the actual club, and I was like, "I'll just go people watch for a second. I'm here a little early and just see what's going on." And I did, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, don't miss this." And also, it's so fun watching like teenagers be out and about for the first time and talking to each other. Anyway, it was pretty cute.
Teenagers in their natural habitat.
100%. It's such a different thing. I'm older than I thought I was after that experience. Anyway.
That's funny. Are your siblings like just stoked, like your biggest fans kind of a deal, or are they like, she does her job and we have our jobs and that's about it?
Yeah, they're super supportive. My sister actually is also a monster Taylor Swift fan, and I think she enjoys like watching me perform. But I'm definitely second on the list. We went and watched the Eras Tour movie together, and the second she saw Taylor Swift on stage, she just instantly was in full blown tears because she was so excited, and she has never done that for me. So maybe that's a goal I gotta focus on.
Have you somehow got her Eras Tour tickets?
Okay, we have applied approximately 15 times to try to get tickets, and like wait lists, all the things. If anyone is willing to sell any tickets that's listening right now, please feel free to reach out because we are trying so hard and we have not been lucky enough to get the draw yet.
It's funny because I want to say like these people who have tickets aren't even the biggest fans, but it is sincerely every huge fan of Taylor Swift is purchasing these tickets, so it's not even people who don't deserve it.
Seriously. Well, and I've heard of some people who've got tickets more than once too, and I'm like, oh gosh, I wish that if anybody who's also had that wants to get rid of them, I will happily buy them. So
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
yeah.
I wouldn't call myself a huge Swiftie, and I'm sure have you and Haley Benedict talked about Taylor Swift?
We have talked about Taylor Swift
At length?
a little bit. You know, it's not. Haley and I talk on the phone once in a while, and sometimes it'll come up, but it's not usually the focus. However, I have seen her TikToks about Taylor, and I've also watched her perform for a long time, and her songwriting and stuff. And it's very clear that Taylor Swift is a big influence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome.
She was very excited I was kind of excited when Fearless Taylor's version came out. So I had to tell her because she was like,
yeah.
"You are a Swiftie. I know it's inside of you somewhere." And I was like, "I don't think it is. Like I don't deserve the title Swiftie. I like Taylor Swift, but I just like I don't think I deserve that." And then I was listening to the Fearless re-record. The Speak Now re-record.
Yeah.
Actually, that was my freaking jam. And she was like, "I knew it was in you. I knew it was in you."
Well, and it just throws it back to that time when you first listened to it too, hey?
That's literally what it is. It's the nostalgia. You're like, where was I when this came out? This was like the 4th or 5th CD I bought and got to keep in my bedroom that didn't go on the family CD collection, you know? They were like, "No, you can for sure keep that one to yourself," you know?
Totally. Well, and it's interesting how it conjures such strange memories listening to those records that you listened to back in the day. I have that with 1989 because I think I really started listening to that record when I moved to the city, and I get that same feeling of like excitement and self-doubt and fear and
Something
joy.
new.
Yeah, that whole thing. It still does the same thing for me.
Isn't that so wild?
Yeah, it's pretty wild for sure.
It's like you can remember. I can remember when songs came out because I can remember where I was usually. And I can be like, oh, that song came out this year because I was in grade 7.
Yeah.
And I was going through this in life and I was listening to this 10 times. It's just so easy to think about that because it's just so It's like your daily soundtrack with these things.
Big time.
It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, it's pretty
absolutely wild.
Pretty cool.
Okay, let's not make this about Taylor Swift. So that's not why we're here
This
today.
is On the Porch, Taylor's version.
Yes. Oh my gosh, amazing.
Mariah's version. Okay, let's talk about music. You just put out a new single recently.
Yeah, I did.
And it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So how exciting was that to put new music out?
It was really exciting. I've been kind of quiet on the releasing front for the last couple years because I've been working on a project and it's finally done, and I have a ton of new music recorded that's ready to go that we're going to be putting out this year, and it's exciting and scary and just a blast. Just so much fun to be finally putting out the music that we've been working on for so long.
It's almost like you've worked so hard for this and it's finally here and you're like, yes, we get to share this with other people too. I'm sure you've been playing some of this stuff like out and about too because you play it live pretty frequently, right?
Yeah, I've been playing all of it out for a while. Some of the songs actually that are coming out this year, I wrote like in 2017, 2018 even, like early. And they've just kind of stood the test of time, and they fit for what I'm trying to say. And then some of them are newer. Actually, the only one I think I hadn't really played out was "You Want Me," which is the single that we just released, because it was also the only almost an outside cut on this project. It was actually a song that I heard years ago that was co-written initially by Devin Cooper and Robin Delento, and Devin had shown me the demo like the second that he finished the song. And I made a joke and was like, if you don't record that, like I will one day, because that melody is so hooky and it's so fun. And then it's funny because Devin put out a project last year called Good Things, and he has a song on his record, and it's called what is it called? Want Me. It's just called Want Me. And then this song that I recorded is called You Want Me. And so he really can't have two Want Me songs. No, it's just like, that's not how that works. Anyway,
So you had to.
Yeah, I just had to do it. It just was, I was doing him a favor, really. Anyway, but it was initially written for him. And some of the lyrics didn't align with my story and also were written for a very male perspective. And so I reached out to him and to Robin, his co-writer, and just asked if I could take a crack at rewriting the lyrics and telling the story that I wanted to tell. And they were gracious and kind enough to say yes and let me take it and make it my own.
Great.
That's really nice.
It is really nice. Yeah. And also, I don't know, if the song's good enough, I don't have to be like I don't have to have written the basis of it. I just like good music. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's funny you got to hear the demo right away, and it like became yours anyways. Like you're like, yeah, I'll take that, and you're like, no, I'm actually taking that now. That's mine.
100%. Well, and I think it'd be funny actually to share the original demo with everyone, because I don't know, are you very familiar with Devin's voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know how he's kind of like growly and raspy?
Yeah.
The vocal he delivered on this demo is like the cleanest tone I've ever heard him sing in, and it's so pop and like so anyway, it's kind of hilarious because it doesn't even sound like him, and the song is so different on the demo. The groove has changed so much, but yeah, I think we'll have to do a comparison of those two versions.
That'd be cool.
Just so people can kind of see where it started and where it ended up.
You keep mentioning the story you're wanting to tell and your story. So what, like this new music that you have coming out and what you've just put out, what is that story? What are these things that you want to tell?
Well, we haven't announced officially like what this record is called, but the basis of it is it's a song for every mood, and it's focused on how the feelings that we feel in the situations that we are in sometimes feel like they're going to last forever, but everything's fleeting and everything's passing, and that it's okay to sit in those for a second and to live in those emotions. So there's some happy songs and some sad songs and some ragey songs and some just straight up like let's party songs. And I think what I'm trying to do is just give everybody a space to feel.
That is such, I feel like your approach, people write music for themselves and they want to be heard. And this, like, the way that you just, like, speak to your writing and what you want to do is very much, like, for everyone else. It's like such an, and I'm sure it gives you your like sense of like identity too, and going through emotions and feeling those, but it just like the way you tell this is very much like I want everybody else to be able to take things from this and be heard and felt and seen. And I love the way you speak about your music.
Thank you. I went to a songwriting camp like years ago with Gretchen Peters, and she wrote Martina McBride's Independence Day and a bunch of other hits. She's incredible. And she said something to the effect that we get the universal through the personal, and that if you're willing to be vulnerable, then it opens up the space for other people to also be vulnerable. And so while the songs and while my music is quite personal to me, and there's a lot of very specific details in some of the songs, I don't know, the baseline of what we're all feeling as humans is the same. And I know the music that has impacted me the most is the stuff that says something that I didn't even know that I needed to say or wanted to say, you know, as a listener even, you know, when you hear something and it's like, oh gosh, I've never thought about it like that before. And so that's what I want to try to do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but we just, we just keep chipping away at it every day.
It'll be exciting to see do you have a whole album basically?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So you mentioned that like you write these songs years and years and years ago, and then they come back out as like in a project years later almost.
Yeah.
When you're performing those, this feels like a dumb question, but when you're performing those, does it take you back to that moment when you first wrote it?
Yeah, sometimes. It depends on the performance, because some of these tunes are brand new. Some of them I've been sitting on for a long time. And there are moments where actually even just listening to the album and also playing them live where it'll just hit me like day one and I'll get choked up on stage. That happened, actually at a show a couple times in the last, actually every show that I've played in the last.
It actually happens all the time.
Yeah, and it doesn't always happen, but I think, when I'm fully present, it does happen quite often, and it's part of the battle is like being present enough to tell the story, but not being so present that my own stuff takes over the thing that I'm trying to say.
For sure, absolutely. You play quite a bit.
Yeah.
You're like that's you have. It would be dumb to say you haven't got your stage legs yet by any means. Like you put miles on the stage. So, can you tell us a little bit about the like Alberta playing experience? Because you're all over the place in Calgary and all over Alberta. And I think you went to BC recently, actually.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm in BC again next week.
So, are you driving a lot in the car?
Yeah, actually, this one we're doing fly dates next week. There's going to be
Nice.
a little bit of driving for sure, but very lucky. It's actually a side project that I'm involved in. Anyway,
fun.
yeah, I can get into that in a minute. But yeah, playing around Alberta is really cool because there's a lot of larger venues for sure in some of the bigger cities like Calgary and Edmonton and Red Deer and Lethbridge. But there's also so many little towns that have cool breweries and that have just interesting spaces, and folks are really excited when musicians come out and like they show up, which is pretty cool. So we actually have been doing a lot of duo shows around Southern Alberta specifically, and just getting out there and playing my music, which is also a little bit of a shift because starting out, so much of what I was doing was covers. And part of that is because there's also a really big corporate scene here in Calgary. There's like a lot of companies that want to hire musicians and hire bands to come in.
Great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and so that's almost where I would say I cut my teeth even more, is just in that corporate scene, and doing lots of events like that. And now I'm shifting my focus quite a bit to really try to move the my stuff along instead of just doing the corporates as much. And I've always done both, but the corporates honestly just they fund the original project at this point. So
No doubt.
yeah.
Paint the picture of the corporate like view, the crowd. I'm picturing people who are being entertained for some reason, like in a boardroom, and I know that's probably not it.
That's definitely not it.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Yeah. Like sometimes it looks like they're in a boardroom because there's lots of suits and stuff, but they're usually
That's suits.
100%. Yeah, it depends on the event. Like some of them are at hotels, in conference rooms or ballrooms. Some of them are like bars or at different venues around town. But I think the biggest thing is that everybody wants to generally cut loose and have a good time and hang with their pals outside of work. And it's a blast getting to facilitate that and build a set list that still represents who I am as an artist and what I do, but also picking the covers that are going to be fun and interesting for folks to listen to, and also for me to sing and to get to try some different stuff that I wouldn't get to otherwise. And even like those shows do inform my artist project even more because I know kind of where I want to live and which songs feel good in like a festival set, let's say, which is a lot different than a corporate event for sure.
I feel like if you get a good response out of a song from a corporate event, you know that song is going to hit, because I've been at corporate events from a business side and I feel bad for the artists on stage because a lot of the times no one's even paying attention. They're just talking to each other. But like if a song can really cut through in that space, like I feel like that's how you know that's got to be a good song.
Totally. Well, and I think there's sometimes a stigma where artists don't want to play those events because you have to work so hard to get people's attention. But I think that's kind of a gift, because if I can work in a room like that where people are there for not to see me, but for another reason, when they show up and they're there to see me and they're coming to my show and they're paying for a ticket, I'm 12 out of 10 grateful because I know what it's like to be on the other side. And also, it gives me the experience of learning how to work for a room and not being entitled to their attention. It's my job to make them pay attention and to make sure they're having a good time. So it's almost like when you say stage legs, like I would say that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. It's just like how to invite a room into your space, even if they're not there, to see you.
That's almost something that people forget is important.
It's like the most important, because you can have it's not the most important. The music is the most important. The songs are the most important. But being able to translate those live and being able to invite people in is really huge, and also
and hard.
Yeah,
right?
And I'm not entitled to attention, so I have to work to invite people into the space. And if they're not paying attention, then sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes the crowd and me, it's just not a vibe. That's okay. But when it does fit, it's like the best feeling ever.
That's a really great sentence. I'm not entitled to attention. I actually really like that.
Yeah, it's true though. I don't know. We're all the artists that I like because they're making stuff that I like. So that's just kind of where I live.
Can we go back to that side project for a second? You said you'd explain that in a minute, and we sidetracked twice.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I actually got hired by GNR Entertainment to go on the road with them for a show called Folsom Prison Revisited. And so basically I'm going to go sing some June Carter songs and play her for a week, which is also super interesting because it's almost it's almost a musical theater style show. I am not a musical theater artist. I am a country artist. And so it's been really interesting stretching that muscle and really diving into her songs and learning how she moves and how she talks and how she sings. And we're going out to play some shows in BC with that next week.
That is cool. So fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
Is that being recorded at all? Like, can people are people who aren't in that part of Canada able to kind of catch this?
I think they board tape it, and I know that there's a little promo online, but I'm just a fill-in. I'm a sub. They actually have another gal who usually does this show, and they tour it all over North America, mostly in Canada. Actually, I don't know if it's North America. It's mostly Canada, I think, but I'm sure there will be some videos, and I'll be posting about it a lot just because it's going to be such
just so fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. And it's interesting because I did a show with this crew last summer with Dwayne Steele. He has this really great George Jones project that he does. And so I got to come out for a show and sing the Tammy Wynette parts. And it's been really cool digging into, who June and who Tammy were and just their journey and what they had to say. And also their singing, like the way they sing is so different. Anyway, it's been quite quite enjoyable learning their
You almost
catalogs.
get to play like these characters and get to like step outside of you, artist, and like into somebody else. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
As a person who's like not into like as a non-musical theater artist who would do that frequently, and that must be an interesting thing to do for the first and second time.
Definitely. Well, and it's not even, I don't have to necessarily be June. I'm still Mariya Stokes on stage.
Yeah.
But I get to interpret and emulate and study just what she did
really
and,
cool.
and see what I can kind of pull and bring back to my project too. Also, I didn't realize Johnny Cash's songs were so, like the background vocal arrangements were so interesting and so heavy. And like also June's interesting to listen to because she has such a, just like quite a unique tone as a vocalist, and she doesn't blend. Like you can always hear June, and yeah, it's kind of a joy to hear that because sometimes I feel like the same way. My voice is a little bright, and it's a lot of work to get it to blend, just because it cuts so hard sometimes. Anyway, I'm getting into the nerdy technical stuff right now, but
No, we were listening to you this morning, and we were like just listening because we were prepping. And I was like, her voice is so unique, and like your voice is very you. It has its own thing. It's like it doesn't need to blend. It just really doesn't need to blend. I mean, when you're singing Bee Gees and stuff, obviously, but like as a lead vocalist, your voice is very. It's its own thing. It's really great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's interesting because I do most of the Bee Gees on all my songs and stuff, and even just learning how to blend with myself is a whole grand adventure every time.
Yeah, no doubt. Why did I do that so?
Yeah. Now I gotta tone it down a little bit for the Bee Gees. Anyway,
Speaking about the uniqueness aspect, you also have a very distinct style that is very much Mariya Stokes.
thank you.
Cool. It's called Cool as Fuck. That's
Yeah,
what
it is. That's
I'll
officially
take
what
that
it's called.
any day of the week. Perfect.
What part does style have in your life and in your music?
I think that style is similar to songwriting or being a musician because it's just such a fun form of self-expression, and I'm in this position as an artist where part of the thing when I'm on stage is putting on a show and making an interesting experience musically but also visually, and I have so much fun playing with all kinds of different outfits. And actually I work with a stylist. Her name's Laurel Holmes. And we actually grew up together and went to junior high in Nanton, Alberta. Yeah, and she's a designer and a stylist and a tailor. And working with her and collaborating together and taking some fashion risks has been really fun.
There's so many things you wear. I'm like, I want that. I'm like, I look ridiculous in that because I just cannot carry that. It's not. You look cool. I would be like, how do I incorporate this into what I'm wearing?
See, and that's an interesting headspace.
Cool is a feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a feeling. Okay, and to talk like my style journey, I remember going to an event and I got a pair of like boot heels they were almost cowboy boots. They were maybe like 2 inches tall. They were barely a heel. And I felt so nervous wearing those boots to this event because I was like, oh, if I wear these heels, I have to stand up straight and I have to intentionally take up space so I don't look like Smeagol. And actually, though, my posture is terrible and I have to work on it all the time. But it's almost like a muscle where I started with like the boots. And then I was like, okay, I think I like these flare jeans that are kind of interesting. And when I started wearing them, it was a skinny jean time. Like it wasn't in style. And I was like, well, I'll try it and we'll see how that goes. And I think my muscle for knowing what I felt good and comfortable in expanded with the more risks that I took. Like I still don't wear dresses. I don't really like dresses. I'll wear them like once a year. But like I know where I feel comfortable and confident, and it just you could totally wear a lot of the stuff that I wear, Jenna. It's just like work the muscle. Yeah.
And your glasses are always hella cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't see without them, so we had to figure out a way to make them fit the whole vibe and aesthetic, and luckily there's lots of options out there now.
So relatable.
Yeah.
So relatable. Remember
That
like
is
when you were
relatable.
younger and you got glasses for the first time and you're like, I can't go to school. I'm going to be the freaking four-eyed kid. And glasses are like a cool accessory everybody's got, and I'm like, my like young self is like still self-conscious about you people wearing glasses for fun and not for sight.
Also, your glasses are super cool. They're almost like cat eye, but like semi-cat eye. They're super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I stepped outside the box. I was wearing the square frames. My face is very like distinct in the square frames, I realized I was hiding everything behind these big glasses. So I just lightened her up a little bit.
I get that. I feel that. And yeah, with the glasses thing, there were like years where I didn't wear them. And when I would drive at night, this is so bad.
So scary.
I would cover one eye because I have astigmatism. And so like one eye is like not too bad. And then the other eye is just terrible. Yeah. And when I found glasses I liked, my parents were a lot happier that I wasn't, being a
Any passenger
hazard.
was also happy
Correct.
too.
Yeah. It was only when I was reading
It's
signs.
fine, guys.
Yeah, it's fine.
I got it.
It's fine. I can read the signs now, so everything's okay.
Honestly, it's tricky though. It's tricky out there.
For sure.
We're getting close to the end. I don't know how we crossed this time so quickly.
This felt like so fast.
And
I know.
we have just
We're at like
started.
almost 40 minutes.
Yeah, we
Oh my
just
gosh.
started. But we need to plug you're a semi-finalist in Top of the Country this year, which is pretty huge. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about like the recording experience, the video experience. Your video is very fun.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about it.
For sure.
We've had some fun.
It was funny because we had just decided the release date for my first single coming back after recording for the past couple years. And then we got the news about Top of the Country and realized that we were going to announce Top of the Country 2 days before my single came out. And that timing was like absolutely wild. It was it was very serendipitous, and I feel so grateful that it lined up the way that it did, for sure. And then we got to go out and record at the Warehouse Studio, which is Bryan Adams' studio, and probably
Vancouver, right?
Yeah, in Vancouver. Yeah, and we did a show. I did my first show in Vancouver while we were out there, which was pretty cool. But the funny thing is, basically, like, Bryan Adams, we know how incredible he is. Like, he's one of the biggest artists of all time. But I got the most excited when I remembered that he wrote and recorded the soundtrack for Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. Anyway, so I was thinking about that and kept talking about it, which was sort of embarrassing while we were in studio, but it's fine. But yeah, the recording process was great. It's such a beautiful open room, and it's interesting in the building because you can feel the other records that have been made there. You can feel the energy, and the SiriusXM and CCMA crews were incredible. It was really great to be able to bring my band out and my production team, and then and shooting the video was a challenge because you've listened to one of them, obviously the song that I recorded. So it was funny. I had to get out of my way big time because it's a crew of like 10 people in a room, my band behind me, and then a camera. And it's such a high energy and like fun song that I almost had to shut my brain off and be like, okay, you're not in a studio recording a video. You're on stage in front of like 5,000 people. And so perform it like that. And then as soon as I got out of my way, then the recording process was quite easy for the video. And also the crew was great and gave me tons of feedback and talked me through just like a couple technical things to make it really feel good. And they had a vision also, like the vintage, like 90s, the quick cuts, the chaos. It was the song. I think they also picked up on my energy a little bit. And they did such a great job, and that vision was actually theirs.
Oh.
Yeah, that was their thing.
They read that so well then. I was like, this had to have you behind it, eh? No.
Well,
I mean, like, you...
Yeah, it wasn't them. They were like, this is our vision. This is what we want to do. How do you feel about it? And I was like, yeah, perfect. Like, that's I'm done. I have no feedback. That's 100% it. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me where to go.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's pretty great. The team that's worked on those was like pretty great. Like, they're very creative people, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it was very, very high level, and so pro. Also, it was the first video shoot that I've worked with a makeup artist on. Yeah, the makeup artist, her name's Monica, and it was wild because in between takes, obviously, I was sweating my butt off because I was dancing.
Yeah, you're moving around that room a lot.
And like half of the jumping and stuff that I didn't even make it into the video, but literally every time we would stop, she would come up and like fan me and then touch my face up. And I don't think that I would have gotten through that without her. And I don't know if I will do a video shoot like that again without a makeup artist because she was a game changer.
Now that you know,
big
Someone
time.
fan me.
Yeah, I felt like such a diva I felt like, and like,
Can I bring you on tour with me?
literally, yeah. Anyway, I was not expecting that level of care. And it was really awesome that she was she was just really thoughtful and really showed up.
That's really exciting. And by the time this comes out, we will already know the top 3, so we're not going to talk about much more about that. But that's really exciting. You get to participate, and hopefully, good luck. Hopefully, you get to
Thank you.
get them top 3.
Yeah, it's a super strong year, and I have lots of friends that are semi-finalists as
Yeah.
well. So it's just been cool, regardless of how it turns out. It seems like everybody is working really hard, and it's just cool to experience this with some pals.
Absolutely.
Well, we've come to the time where we're at the end. Unfortunately, we'll have to do a part 2 and catch up again because this has gone by far too fast.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. Thank you both for having me. This is awesome. It's great
Thanks.
to be on the porch.
Thanks for joining us on the porch.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to another episode of On the Porch with Front Porch Music. We're so lucky to be able to chat with artists and make episodes like this one. If you like the podcast, remember to rate and review us, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. It's the easiest way to support the show. Remember to check out frontporchmusic.ca to keep up with new music releases, exclusive artist interviews, and more. We'll catch you again on the porch in a couple of weeks. On the Porch is hosted by Logan Miller and Jenna Weiser, and produced and edited by Jason Saunders. That's me. Our theme song was written, produced, and performed by Owen Wrigley.